Let's play.
All right, welcome everyone to week 2, episode 2 of Wednesday Night Football. Once again, I'm joined right over there by Gabe. Gabe, how you doing?
What's going on, Jesse? Glad to be back on the show. Here we go. We got a good one today.
Yeah, you're a whole new person. The Dallas Cowboys
I'm
win.
actually proving myself from last week.
You're proving yourself. You've shaved. You got a haircut. It's like Jerry Jones saw your podcast and like, listen, if you're going to represent us, please wear this jersey.
That's true. That's true. Or this nice polo. It's not even a jersey. I'll take it. And yeah, got to do the Cowboys
classy.
Nation proud. Just
Very
like we were on
classy.
Sunday.
Yeah, this week of football, before I even get into the topics, was another crazy week of football. Very entertaining. I think things are starting to settle a little bit, and then they change.
Yeah.
The New York Giants and Dallas both won a game.
What a victory for both of us this weekend.
And it was really cool. I know, right? And the Bengals, which we talked about last week, they finally, or not finally, but they barely won that game.
We both predicted they would destroy them.
I know, and yet the Jaguars owned the first half of that game, which was crazy. So here we are now on episode 2, and we got to talk once again about Monday Night Football. And so let me set the scene again here. Okay, you got two, which I say playoff contending teams clashing on week 4. You got week 3. You got your Chargers coming in, facing the Raiders. Chargers getting booed as they come into the stadium, even though it's their home turf. And then they walk out feeling much better than they did walking in with a 28-14 win over the Raiders. Now, I know we talked about the playoff predictions last week. I know I said that the Raiders were going to win their division. I know you said they were going to make the wild card. And we kind of did this flip-flop of, responsibilities, or not responsibility, but power ranking, if you will, of, which is the better team. But we both said both teams were going to make the playoffs. So coming out of that game, how'd it go for you? How do you feel about it?
I still feel pretty strongly about my picks. I still think both teams have a solid shot of making the playoffs. I know I don't believe I have the Raiders in my wild card for the AFC, but they have a shot, and it could go pretty interesting. So the game itself, first of all, like a lightning delay inside the dome. I don't understand what that was about. We were like just sitting there for 35 minutes, just waiting to see what happens. But upon the game itself, the Raiders did what the Raiders usually do. They fall behind in the first half. They just allow the team to put points on them. But recently, in the first 3 games, they were able to come back and claw their way back and like just barely edge out that win. In this game, though, it was didn't go that way for them. They had a shot. They scored a touchdown. They scored 2 touchdowns in the third quarter. Their only quarter in the game in which they scored, and they brought it to a 1-score game. It was 21-14 at one point. But then just mistakes, penalties, Derek Carr throwing a game-sealing interception at the end and just not, hitting the targets like Henry Ruggs or Renfro as cleanly as they probably could have, kind of sealed their fate. And when you make that many mistakes against a Chargers team that's as hot as these ones are, you're not going to really win the game. And the Chiefs learned that last week, and the Raiders just learned it this week. But overall, both teams are still very, very strong. Don't let this week discount the first 3 weeks the Raiders played. I think the Raiders are still a very strong team, and the Chargers are just proving that they're here to make some noise this year. So I think both teams have a very solid shot to win the division, and only one of them can, and the other maybe a wild card spot.
Yeah, and I have to agree with you there. All right. And so a lot of the media surrounding this game right now is talking nonstop about the Chargers quarterback, right? For good reason. He played an excellent game. Justin Herbert threw, just to pull up some stats here, he went 25 for 38, 222 yards, 3 TDs, 0 interceptions, 107.6 QB rating. I mean, it's not like a game that you'd say like, wow, that was the best game I've ever seen for a quarterback. But you think, just from what you're hearing from media, I don't know if you've been watching ESPN or any of that lately, it is so much hype about this kid right now from this one game. is it earned? Is it deserved? What do you think on that? Because right now, when I see it, I just see a quarterback who's doing his job. Yeah, he's young. He's had some four pretty good games, but I really haven't seen anything from him that makes me say he's the next Patrick Mahomes, for instance. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I would have to kind of agree with you. Justin Herbert is a really really good quarterback. He's only in his second year though, um, so I think he still has a quite a bit left to prove, and it really comes down, I think, to the team around him. If he's able to, finish games like this and do what he has to do to get the win, then like yeah, people can start talking to him in elite status. But I think it's just so far it's just like these flashes that are eyeing people around. He did win Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year last year, and he might win
Yep.
some award this year. But Herbert, I think still has he's got a few games where I think he can make some plays for himself. I understand like, the Chargers as a whole are making a ton of mistakes and that's how they're losing games. And then, they're getting
Yeah.
they're getting a lot of help from either it's like their receivers or their defense with Joey Bosa helping the charge. But if Justin Herbert can put together games like he did this, last night on Monday Night Football, if he could put together more of those games throughout the next coming weeks against tough opponents like they did against the Chiefs, then yeah, start calling him an elite quarterback, even though he's young. That's my opinion.
So, and when you say that, yes, I think he is a young quarterback. Yes, he did wonderful things last year, and he's doing some great things this year. But you got to compare him, right? You always got to compare him against the competition. You do that with the Patriots game that everyone was talking about between Jones and Brady. So let's compare Carr to Herbert. So you got Carr throwing 21 for 34, right? 196 yards, two TDs, one pick, 84.9 QB rating. So kind of pedestrian, more of a game management style quarterback for that game right there for Derek Carr. I know I was talking of them a lot last week, saying he's John Gruden Jr. But I really didn't see that he was comfortable in that stadium the entire game. Um, and I think the real separator factor is not the talent between the two quarterbacks. I think while Herbert might have a higher ceiling than Carr, I think it really came down to the ground game, because the ground game, when it's effective, opens up the passing game, right? And so on the ground, you had the Chargers rushing for 168 yards to just 48 yards with the Raiders. A huge difference there. It's an entire field's length plus some between the two teams difference. I really see that as what really opened up the passing game for the Chargers, allowed them to get comfortable, allowed them to run some more developed plays, and give different looks that allowed them to really flex their strength in that first half. How do you feel about that? Do you think that the Chargers run game is going to be that effective week in and week out, or do you think this was just a breakout game for them?
That's a tricky question, but they their running backs are look insane this year. I think throughout most of their games, they while they haven't put up that crazy numbers, they still put up numbers. Like they put up a decent chunk against the Cowboys. They almost ran all over us, and they did pretty well against the Chiefs as well. So, I mean, it's a tricky one because, like you said, it really comes down to like this balance. Like Justin Herbert, he's got like these weapons around him, but also the running backs help prove a lot as well when it comes to their attack and their offense. But I think the running game will be just as good as it was like this past Monday. I don't think it'll get the yardage, but I think more scores will be scored on the ground as they keep going and going and get more confident with their running backs, and especially if they don't get hurt. I think one of their starters may have gotten hurt for the season. It might have been
Right.
a yeah, but as long as they stay healthy and confident like they did, I fully believe that their running game will continue to be that strong, and that will make Herbert more comfortable, in the surrounding area, and then allow him to just read the defense on what they're doing and let him make better decisions as the play goes on.
Yeah, and they're not just relying on one back. This isn't like a Titans team that's relying solely on one running back or anything. This is a very diversified running group that's splitting their running yards pretty, I wouldn't say equally, but pretty well among their different runners, which I think is making the difference, right? Because you don't know what type of look you're going to have. Usually, when you look into the backfield or behind, the quarterback, you've got a running back that is their power runner. There's a running back that is their space runner, right? And then you got a guy is just going to try to be that open receiver. And so you can kind of figure out as a defense the plays the offense is going to run just by looking at that running back. And with the Chargers right now, based on that game, it's really hard to say what are you going to do with these guys because they're all running effectively. So a really good stuff from them. But there's one quarter though. It's a 1 quarter mystery for me. Let's talk that third quarter. So you were watching the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the first half of this game, it's a Chargers game. I don't think the Raiders, they didn't score a point.
Right.
The Chargers were just running this game down. Halftime, I'm sure the coaches put out some great speeches, fired the guys up. They come out, and the third quarter just was a completely different game. Raiders put up 14 points. Chargers put up nothing. And I always like to say that it's a team. It's a full quarter game, right? So you have 4 quarters to the game. You play all 4 quarters, you win. The Chargers didn't play a 4-quarter game. They played a 3-quarter game, and as you said, it got very close. It was within a single touchdown, and they really had to rally that 4th quarter to make sure they sealed the deal. What happened there? What was the breakdown? What did you see?
I believe that the Chargers just kind of laxed off a little bit. Like I think it's just as simple as that. Like they were up 14-0, 21-0, I'm sorry, against the Raiders going into halftime, and I assume they felt like the game was pretty much over at that point. You could tell in the third quarter, even the announcers were saying that like they aren't going to like their high pressure offense with having their 2 strongest defensive ends on one side to try and get to the quarterback as they were in the first and second quarter of the game to try and apply that pressure and get the Raiders off the field quickly. They were just kind of like laying back a little bit. And to go a little bit off topic for a quick second, that's what I would assume, just because like that's exactly how the Cowboys played on their game against the Panthers on Sunday. They were up, sure. They scored 30 on the Panthers, and then they just kind of like chilled out for like that 4th quarter, allowed the Panthers to come back within a score. The Chargers, I believe, did the exact same thing in this game, and they were able to pick themselves up, and it was really the missed field goal by the Raiders it was either the end of 3rd or early 4th that really turned that rest of the game around.
But that was the momentum switch right there.
That was the momentum switch, and the Chargers, they squeaked by, I think, especially in that 3rd quarter, because the Raiders could have easily put another score or 2 on the board.
Yeah, like you were saying, 21 points Chargers scored in the first half. Raiders scored 14 points in the 3rd quarter. And then the Chargers finalized the game with 7 points in the 4th quarter. So really, it's a first half game for the Chargers. And then the Raiders almost really just ran the second half until the end there. So in your opinion, do you see the Chargers as that crushing team that, that wiped out the Raiders in that first half? Or do you see them as the only scored 7 points in the second half, barely holding on to their lead team? And vice versa, do you see the Raiders as that first half team, or do you see them as that more that dominant second half team? Where do you see these teams based on that performance?
So I'm going to start with the Raiders. They're easily a second half team. They don't really put up numbers a lot in the first quarter. There were stats all game Monday night talking about how Derek Carr only has 1 touchdown in the first half of games and 6 in second halves of games, and his pass yardage and his QBR is just off the scales when it comes to the difference between the first half and the second half. So the Raiders, and it's not just Derek Carr too, it's the entire team, but Derek Carr and the Raiders are easily a second half team, and they proved that yet again on Monday night. The Chargers are a little bit difficult to digest or to discuss about.
Break down,
yeah, words. But the Chargers, I feel, they're more of that team that keeps it close. I don't think they can ever truly break away from a team and, just put up a dominant performance. They have the pieces and they have the talent to do so, but I think they just keep shooting themselves in the foot sometimes, where either they're stepping back on the gas, or they get too many penalties called against them, or just, they make some poor decisions, or they get some missed targets. I think the Chargers just do a little bit of too much self-inflicting to the point where they can never truly break away from games and be dominant, but they can always find a way to, pull it out at the end and win. So
Yeah, I think it's our playoff predictions are really based on full games, right? Playing a full game. Raiders did not play a full game. They never really have. They have to really shore up that beginning of the game, that first
if they
half
want to go, if
mentality.
they want to win more than a game in the playoffs, then yeah, they'll have to play
Yeah.
all 4 quarters.
And then on the opposite end of that, you have the Chargers. If you just combine these two teams, you're like, hey guys, why don't you take the Chargers first half and the Raiders second half? You'd have an amazing football team. But right
Oh
now,
yeah,
it's a tale of two halves, and I don't think either team is a complete team at the moment.
right.
But so I think that should wrap up our first quarter here. Our second quarter, though, once again, we're going to move into a very similar topic here. Let's do some previews. We talked about the past. Now let's talk about the future. Thursday
Mm-hmm.
night football. Once again, it's going to be a pretty good game. You got the Rams, and then you've got the Seahawks. So I'd like to call them the surging Seahawks and the rebounding Rams. Okay, let's get some alliteration going in there.
I
All
got
right,
you.
you like
Okay,
that? You like
okay.
that? All right, so you get the Rams at 3-1, 3-1 Rams, and then you got the Seahawks at 2-2. Rams just came off kind of a devastating loss to the Cardinals, but prior to that, they beat the Bears, they beat the Colts, then they had that shootout with the Bucks where they beat Tom Brady's Bucks, right? And then on the opposite side, the Colts or the Seahawks, they beat the Colts week 1. They lose to the Titans, lose to the Vikings, and now beat the 49ers in
Mm-hmm.
what they were unfavored in that game. I never saw it that way because I told you I don't believe in the 49ers this year. So how do you think this game's going to go, man?
I feel like it's going to be a lot closer of a game than some people might think. Normally, if this was like a week ago, I think everybody would say that the Rams would put up numbers on the Seahawks, score maybe twice as many of their points, and just run away with the game, maybe after like the first half or even the third quarter. But the Seahawks, I mean, you can never really count the Seahawks out, even though they may have lost 2 games this season already.
Mhm.
Russell Wilson just has a way to keep them in. He just has so many deep threats with Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, and then their defense isn't half bad either. It's not like it was like 5-6 years ago, but their defense is still not bad. So I think the team is relatively complete, and that just allows them to stay in close games. They were never truly out of it in any of their games where they lost or whether came back and won or held on to
Right.
the lead and won. And it's gonna be difficult to pick a winner. I do think the Rams, though, just overall look stronger. They just, each team, throws a dud every once in a while, and that was their dud against the Cardinals in Week 4. They just they didn't show up during that game, but
No.
they've proved that they're able to contend with the top teams in the league. They beat down on the Buccaneers, and they thrash the teams they're supposed to thrash, like the Bears. So I think the Rams have all the pieces together. It's just like you said, they're going to rebound from this loss to the Cardinals. They're going to make sure it doesn't happen again. And even though the Russell Wilson and the Seahawks might maybe jump out to an early lead, I think the Rams will overall come back and make the game, run away with the game before it gets too close.
I'm glad you bring up Russell Wilson with that too, because I don't want to give my prediction for the game just yet. Although if you watch last week's video, you probably know where I'm standing.
Mhm.
But Russell Wilson won his 100th game, right? So it's a very
Yep.
monumental moment. I think it's the fastest a QB has ever won 100 games in the history of football that he's done it.
Mhm.
So it's spectacular quarterback. But what we see with Russell Wilson is regression. We see him surge in the beginning, right? That's what I'm calling the surging Seahawks. They just dominate in the first half of the season. And then he falls off, they fall off. The MVP talks disappear about Russell Wilson. And then the Seahawks either make the playoffs and fizzle or miss the playoffs, right? So is that the identity of this team still? Do you think that the surging Seahawks are going to go, let's say, I don't know, 7-7 wins and then just start to peter out, or do you think that they're going to go ahead and continue this momentum moving forward? Because like you just said, um, the Rams are favored here. So is this just a surge, or are they going to beat the Rams and continue to build the momentum?
Well, I think the Seahawks have a lot to prove. I I can't say that I can't put an answer on the identity question yet, just because I don't think I've seen enough of the Seahawks. They're a very polarizing team in terms of the way they play. They play very, very well in the first half of the season, and then in the second half they're not the same team at all. So I just need to see more from Seattle to get a better sense of what their identity truly is, because right now I don't think we really can answer that question. But if you just look at their last few seasons, like they've made it to the playoff round in all 3 years previously. They lost to the Rams in the wild card last year. They made it
Yep.
to the divisional round in 2019 and lost to the Packers. And then in 2018, they lost to the Cowboys, my Cowboys, in the wild card round. And then I
Not gonna
think
forget that,
I
are
don't,
you?
I won't forget it, but but I did forget what happened years prior. Anyways, that's not important because the Seahawks haven't made the Super Bowl since '49, and yeah, it's one of those things that I think I just need to see more from Seattle. Like they do really well, and it's hard to give them a grade right now. So I actually just want to ask you if you think,
Sure.
not that it's, do you think, is it actually Russell Wilson like himself that's regressing throughout the season, or is it maybe like a coach, like poor coaching as the season goes on? Like, do you think maybe someone on the staff, or is Pete
Yeah.
Carroll kind of like not being as creative or aggressive as he is in the beginning of the season? Like, is it something to do with that, or do you think it really is Russell Wilson and some of the other players on the team?
I think it's all of them. I think Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson, Metcalf, I think all of them are to blame there because locker room motivation is driven by the coaching staff, of course, but also by team captains. And when that thirst and that hunger starts to dwindle, you got to blame that on your QB first, because they are the heart of the team. If your QB is doing great and holding the team together, the team's going to fight. If your coach is doing it, the team's going to fight. But if you see this continual regression in their efforts in the second half, and that totally comes down to the captains failing the teams halfway through the season, losing sight of the goal and getting burned out. I think Russell Wilson, as we saw with off-season antics and everything with him, I think he's just burnt out with the Seahawks, and I'm not sure that he's so sold on them moving forward. So that's him, and I think that's the identity right now. Is you have a team that it has potential for greatness, but just doesn't believe in itself, and I think that's where it starts to fall apart.
Mm.
And I want to talk about a different team, though. Still talking about this Rams Seahawks game, but I think there's an important team you got to talk about when comparing them, and it's the Colts. Okay, so week 1, Seahawks face the Colts. Okay,
Mm.
and Seattle beats the Colts 28-16. Week 2, the Rams face the Colts, beat the Colts 27-24. So very close games in terms of scores for how much points were put up, right? Yards that Seattle put up, 381. And the Colts put up 336. In the Rams game, Rams put up 371, Colts put up 354. Those numbers are near identical, right? So the yardage is almost the same now. So time of possession. Once again, Seattle owns the ball for 24 minutes, 13 seconds. The Colts have it for 35 minutes and 47 seconds. In the Rams game, Rams have it 28 minutes and 28 seconds. And then once again, the Colts 31-32. So you see that the Colts have more possession of the ball. The yardage is almost the same. So these two teams perform very similarly against the exact same team with the Colts. And I think that's telling right there. And it's very telling for me as a football observer, not necessarily a fan. I'm not a fan of any of those three teams, Giants for life. But when you're looking at this game, I have to say that it's going to be close, because when you look at the common enemy, the common opponents that they played, both teams played almost identically in terms of stats, not play style, but stats against this Colts team. And so I have to say, looking at this, I think the Seahawks are the better team overall right now. They are going to put up less yards or more yards. They're going to allow less yards, and I think it's the Rams are going to struggle in the beginning of this game. I really do. I think that Matthew Stafford, as much as it is going to be a rebound match for him, I think he's going to struggle against a team that can perform the same standard as them, but have the motivation to really thrive in the beginning half of this game. What do you think?
I can agree with that. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see Matt Stafford and the Rams like face an opponent that's almost like worthy of them as the Seahawks. They've had a few of those matchups already where they beat the Bucks and lost to the Cardinals, but I think the Seahawks, like you said, are a different matchup in a way that they have a very similar aura that the Rams project, and it just makes it seem like both teams are like clashing heads. I don't know if it'll be a high scoring game, a low scoring game. You never know which team's defense will turn on. I think the Rams do have the slightly stronger defense, but yeah, both teams just it's hard to choose between them because it is a divisional game, and always know they're coming for each other in divisional games, so they always tend to play a little bit better. But I don't know if I'm comfortable picking Seattle for a win here though, because they're just so many question marks for me still, and I know the Rams just lost, so like you got to think about like what's going on with them. But the Rams are, you know, a really strong team as we've learned so far in the early stages of the season, and it's still early, so like we don't know what they're gonna do later on as the season goes by. But we're still talking about week 4, week 5 here, so it's going to be a close game. It's going to be a close game. That's pretty much all I can say. And in my opinion, I think the Rams are overall the stronger team, and I think they have a slightly higher chance to win. But I can't really count the Seahawks out.
So if you had the last score out there, okay, you're betting everything. This is the score that the Rams are going to win by. How much do they win by?
Rams are going to win by. They're going to win by 4.
4. All right. So very similar to me. I say Rams by 3. Once again, we're close by. I'm going to take that dollar under you to win the game show here.
The over under, yeah.
Yeah, the over under here. But I say it's going to be a fourth quarter field goal victory. I think these two teams are going to slug it out. I think it's going to be an outstanding game, and the football gods are going to completely make this a runaway game just because I said that.
Yeah,
And
yeah, they will.
That's where I stand though. One shout out score. Once again, last week, my dad did a shout out for the Bengals game, and he was the closest of the three of us.
By far.
And so he's made another shout out, and it's once again very different than us. So maybe we should put him on the show just in case. But he predicted Seahawks are going to win this 31-19. So either we need to pick a different profession here, or maybe he's getting a little confident in himself. So that's the game. I think it's going to be an awesome game. But I think that's going to wrap up quarter 2. So why don't we go ahead and step into halftime? All right, welcome everyone to this week's halftime show. I'm joined by a very special guest. Dominic, would you mind introducing yourself to our viewers here today?
Hi all, I'm Dominic Perio. I've been working at the Boys and Girls Club of Meriden for close to 40 years now, running all sorts of programs from archery, art programs, computer programs, even soccer.
That's awesome. So at the halftime show for this show, what I really want to do is I want to draw attention to a lot of different programs that are out there that could really use local support, or even just support across the web through finance or just notoriety that delve into sporting events for children, getting them involved in these programs, maybe improving their quality of life while they're doing it. And Dominic, your program that you work with has been doing this, as you said, for over 40 years. What program is that?
The club has been in existence since 1888.
Wow.
And has been serving underprivileged, or however you want to put it, youth pretty much since then.
Great. And what's the name of that program?
The Boys and Girls Club of Meriden.
Okay, so that's at Meriden, Connecticut then, right?
Correct.
Nice. And so then how does this program support these children in sporting events and getting them involved and getting the community involved?
We have quite a few leagues: basketball, volleyball, archery, all sorts of divisions, from particularly in basketball from like 4 all the way up through high school. the kids, pay a fee. Those that can't get a lesser um, charge, whatever you want to call it. And then the community through sponsorships, donations, fundraisers, helps to support those programs.
Wonderful. And how is it that the community here on our channel here can support you and your program?
You can always go to our website, which is www.bgcmeriden.org, and make a financial donation.
Wonderful. We'll put that down in the description for everyone. And also with that, what is one key takeaway that you could give us about your program? What is something that makes the program shine and help all the children out?
I think it's the diversity. We don't turn anybody away, even if they can't pay. We, find some way to make it happen. The kids from all walks of life playing together, boys and girls, rich, poor, etc.
That's awesome. For all the viewers out there, this means a lot to me. I've been in a situation when I was growing up where I was aided in getting into a lot of sports programs, whether it be by family means or by town means. And it helped me gain some confidence as a person, helped me grow up. And it's really great to see programs like yours, Dominic, to help bolster this and keep the community alive. Because one thing sometimes we forget is that the United States and everyone here is a community. And sports are a great way to connect for children, to help them grow in confidence and maybe set some goals and successes in their life story that they can thrive from in the future. So I just wanted to say thank you, to do a quick shout out to your program. Once again, what was that link?
www.bgcmeriden.org.
Outstanding. Dominic, it's been a pleasure. This is going to conclude our halftime show for this week. Tune in next week for yet another program out there that's supporting local children in the area. Thank you, Dominic.
You're welcome.
All right, everyone. Welcome back. Quarter 3. Here we go. Player Spotlight. I love this segment. This is a segment I really do look forward to because once again, we like to shine light upon players that have success in the league and not just draw attention to their pitfalls. Because I mean, every player in the NFL should be an outstanding player. I mean, they've competed for their entire life at the highest of levels and gotten to this point. And so last week we talked about the quarterback, which is the field general, the head of the offense, the heart of the team. I want to talk about the other side of the ball this week. Let's talk linebacker. They're the captain of the defense. Linebackers are extremely versatile. They have to be able to stop a run. They have to be able to stop the pass. They have to be able to interdict tight end routes. They're the lead tacklers usually with their team, not lead sackers, but lead tacklers in their team. They also can get picks. They're just everywhere, all over the defensive side of the ball. And I think they really do deserve some praise for us because we always talk about the offense, but let's talk D. So there's three main types of linebackers, right? You got inside linebackers, which are inside that tackle box, right? They're really there to stop the run. You have your middle linebacker, which is the heart and soul of the team, as I like to say. And then you have outside linebackers, which are really focused on those tight ends, containing them. And I'm going to sell you on a player once again. I think I did an awesome job last week. I can't even remember the person you put forward. It was some washed up Cowboys player.
I see how it is.
But you completely accepted that Matthew Stafford was MVP. Now I'm going to talk about who is going to be not defensive player of the year, but the best linebacker overall for this year. You ready for this? Hopefully you didn't pick the same guy.
I know, I'm crossing my fingers.
Roquan Smith.
Okay, we're good.
All right. So, Smith here is, I think he's one of the most consistent players in the league. So he plays on the Bears defense right now. The Bears defense is a pretty well touted defense, not a touted team, but a strong defensive unit here. And so he's got 40 tackles already, and those are combined tackles, right? So he's 7th in the league on that. He's tied first though for solo tackles. So that means once he tackles someone, they're not usually getting away from him if you're leading the league in solo tackles. He's got 2 sacks, 1 interception. He's been in the league 4 years already, so he's getting some experience. He's entering the prime of his career now. prime of his career. He's 6'1", he's 232 pounds, which is a very good size for a linebacker in this league nowadays. He's been extremely consistent this year alone, where he hit 11 tackles, combined tackles the first week, 9 the second week, 10 the third week, and then 10 again the fourth week. So as you see, he's averaging 10 tackles a week perfectly. And he's done this consistently throughout his career. Now, his first year, he had 114 tackles, not so bad, right? Second year, he only plays 14 games the second year, but he still gets 100 tackles, still hitting 3 digits. Third year, 137 tackles, best yet. And now we're at week 4 of a 17-week season, and he's already at 40 combined tackles. If you do the math, now I'm not going to insult your intelligence and your intelligence here. You are a Cowboys fan, but 40 times 4, just because we're about quarter-way point of the league, is 160 tackles. That's far exceeding what he's ever done in his career. He's on pace to be wrecking his personal records, and the man is just entering his prime at year 4 as a linebacker. Linebackers, 7 years, 8 years, I think is the cap for them usually, but year 4, he's just wrecking it. And the Bears defense, all right, with his efforts, are a top 10 defense. They're actually ranked number 10 right now with points allowed, which is 91 for the season. Now, I understand there's teams that are completely running away, like the Bills, in terms of defense. Bears aren't a great team. This guy, though, makes them a good team. His consistent efforts, his week-to-week showings have just been everything that you want in a defensive player. So I'm telling you right now, when I look at a linebacker, I say, hey, I want someone who can communicate, who can show up every single week, who's physically involved in the game, and I can count on him to stop the big plays. This guy does it week in, week out. Smith, I know Bobby Wagner is a big name in the league and everything, but Smith is your top linebacker. I say it this year. I'm not going to go back on that. Smith's your man, pending injury. What do you got, man? I know you're convinced, but let's hear about your Cowboys.
Hey, I actually didn't pick a Cowboys player. Calm down. Dak Prescott's just too good. I just had to point him out. But anyways, I'm going to go with the player. He's a relatively young player, and I don't know if this is like, I don't want to say cheating. I guess it's not cheating, but like he was part of the Super Bowl winning Tampa Bay Buccaneers last year. I'm going to go with Devin White, linebacker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Okay. He had a stellar season in 2020. This is only his third season, 2021, and he's already making moves in the league. If you go back to 2020, we have stats such as 140 combined tackles, which is nearly 10 per game, which is kind of ridiculous. And he also recorded 9 sacks in that season, 9.0 for a linebacker, which is kind of obscene. That's 6.5 more sacks than he got in 2019. So he was applying much more pressure, and he's proving himself to be a lot more over the field. He also has an interception back in his rookie season. So he's definitely more of an up close, get to the quarterback type of linebacker, but that doesn't mean he's not making tackles. He actually has the most tackles for loss or no gain of any defensive player from 2019 to 2020 with 33. And so that just goes to show that wherever the ball is, Devin White is, and he helps make this Bucs defense very, very strong. That's part of the reason why they were able to get to Mahomes quite frequently during the Super Bowl, and they ended up winning the Super Bowl that year. So, and the Bucs are doing really well so far in the 2021 season, and Devin White is, all over the ball. He's got 28 combined tackles so far in the 2021 season, with 20 of them being solo tackles. So he's not doing as well as your player Roquan Smith in the tackling numbers and stats, but he's a menace on the field. He's all over the ball, and I think he's just gonna go up from here as well as the Tampa Bay Bucs defense.
So last year, the Bucs had so many stars, right? I mean, they were the retirement home of the NFL league, right? All the veterans retire in Florida.
Oh yeah.
And so you had so many names. Defensive ends were great. You had JPP, so was on there, right? And so you just have all this talent here, drawing all of those key players, those blockers, to them, really opening up the lanes for White. to make these sacks, which is why I got 9, I think, to make him such a highlighted player. You don't got that with Smith. Smith is the team man. And so I think White is awesome. I think you're bringing forward someone really nice, but when it comes down to who would I
Isn't
really
Khalil
want to
Mack
pick,
still on the Bears though? Isn't he helping like destroy that offensive line though?
that's one man. So I don't know. I say Smith. I like your presentation though. I have to say it's better than last week. Last week I fell asleep, I think, a couple times. This week you got some good numbers there, man. I feel like you came prepared.
Yeah, no, I wasn't prepared last week. I'll full admit, but that's fine. That's fun.
All
so
right.
we improve. Yeah.
So
let's go. What do you got?
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and say that's a wrap for quarter 3.
Okay.
On to the final quarter here. And I've got a doozy of a question for you.
Oh boy.
A doozy of a question, right? Here's
let's
the question. I'll give you some facts to help you, but here's the mainline question. How do you fix the Jets?
Oh boy.
Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. I'm going to provide you with all the tools that you need to make a judgment.
That's a tough one.
I'm putting
Jets fans out there. I am sorry. I am so sorry.
You are the new GM. All right. You got the green background behind you. You are the new GM of the Jets. So I wrote this question. I wrote this script prior to this week's game.
Yeah.
Because I was totally ready to talk about this because I was ready to talk about the same old stinky Jets. And of course, the football god said, hey, let's throw a curveball at you. So let's talk first about let's get this out of the way, this bear in the room. Okay. So the Giants win, or the Giants. See, every time I hear New York, I think of the real New York team. The Jets win 27-24 over the Titans. Now, the Titans are the leading team right now in their division, who we picked to win that division, both of us, for the playoffs. They won in overtime because the Titans missed a field goal. That game was a very back and forth game. Zach Wilson went 21-34, 297 yards, 2 TDs, a pick. Ryan Tannehill, 30-49, 298 yards, I believe. 1 TD, no picks. So the quarterbacks I think were comparable in that case. And then, you had King Henry for the Titans really playing his heart out. He ran for 157 yards, got a TD out of it on 33 attempts. He was really the workhorse for the Titans. And so you have a lot of field goals into the game, and they go back and forth, and the Jets really look like they have the game in a wrap in the fourth quarter, and then they just crumble. And then the Titans look like they're coming back, goes into overtime. Jets kick a field goal, they get it. Titans get the ball, miss the field goal. Ends the game. Jets walk away with the first victory. And everyone now is saying, hey, the Jets are, if you look at power rankings across the internet, Jets are moving up. They're clicking. Zach Wilson is finding his groove. I'm not sold because they had such a strong presence in a little bit of that game, and then they decided to almost give the game away. And that's not what a strong team does. But historically, that's what the Jets do. So let me talk about the history. I know you're chomping at the bit, but I got to lay all these things out here for you.
Go ahead. Set the scene. Set the scene.
I'm setting the scene. Okay. I'm gonna get my Jets colored notebook here. Look at this. Ooh.
Oh man.
I know, right? All right. So Jets have been around 62 seasons. This is their 62nd season. Okay. So
it's an old squad.
Not bad. Old squad. Not as old as, Faithful here, but still an old squad. Of that, they win 411 of their regular season games. They drop 517 of them. So that's a difference of 106 games. They have 8 ties throughout their career. Sure, that's a thing. Playoffs, how do they do there, you think? All right, well, regular season, not so good. Probably not so good in the playoffs. Well, actually, they win 12 playoff games. They lose 13. So, hey, that's not too bad. I'm not going to knock a team for only being -1 game in the playoffs. Super Bowl, they have 1 Super Bowl. They won it. It's with Joe Namath. It's a very well known Super Bowl. And so overall, not a lot to show there, though. That Super Bowl was in the 60s. The 60s. I mean, this is, almost 60 years ago now, right? So they have 30 negative seasons. So 30 negative seasons out of these past 61 seasons. They're trailing negative this year already, so it could be 31 seasons. 12 seasons, they break even, and then that leaves just the remaining 19 seasons that they're positive. Their best season that they go, 1968, 11-3. They've had some other seasons where they scored pretty well or performed pretty well, but that was their best season ever. Okay, 11-3. Best QB they ever had, Joe Namath, played in the 60s once again, but he's not a good quarterback. I know Jets fans are going to find me, they're going to lynch me, but he's not a good quarterback. He threw 1,836 completions for 3,655 attempts. That's a 50% quarterback. Okay. How many yards did he throw? Was it 40,000? Was it 50,000? No, it was 27,000. Over all those years, all those throws, 27,057 yards. How many TDs? 170. I mean, Tom Brady might throw that in a year, I feel like nowadays, right? 170 TDs. That's it. And I'm obviously exaggerating Tom Brady there. Best rusher, Curtis Martin, very respected rusher. I still respect the man. He throws, or not throws, he has 2,560 attempts on the ball, goes for over 10,000 yards, 10,302 yards, 58 TDs. Best receiver, Don Maynard, 627 receptions. I'm laying out these players on a purpose here, okay? So bear with me. 627 receptions, 11,723 yards, 88 TDs. And then their best coach. Here's the creme de la creme, the best coach they have, the winningest coach, okay? It's Weeb Eubank, okay? Now, if that isn't a name for an organization, the best coach ever, a Weeb who works at a bank, it's just lame man. 71 wins he has, 77 losses. So he goes negative. The most winning coach goes negative with 6 ties, okay? And he played, or didn't play, but he coached them from 1963 to 1973. So you have a team through all of these years that goes negative in all their seasons. Their most winningest coach can't have a positive season. The best quarterback they have is a quarterback that can't throw more than 2 complete passes in a row, it feels like. Once again, from the 60s, you have a good running back in Curtis Martin, who was in the early 2000s. And then Don Maynard, once again, he's, and I don't really have any complaints about him. He's a good receiver. Okay. That's it. That's the best. That's the history of your franchise. Where'd you go from here? You are the 6th lowest winning percentage team franchise in the history of the NFL. Okay. Bucks are number 1, Jags 2, Cardinals 3, Falcons 4, Texans 5, Jets firmly at number 6. Okay. How do you fix it? How do you fix a team that has a history of being a failure? I don't know. What do you think?
That's a very steep question, because I think in my maybe decade-long experience of watching football in the NFL, I think I've only seen the Jets in the playoffs once, and they just don't show up. I just don't know. I feel like the Jets are just, part of it might be luck. They might just be a very unlucky team. They don't draft the right players at the right times. Part of it might be the coaching. Everyone talks about like the Adam Gase curse of recency, and I don't think Rex Ryan was a great coach for the Jets. And even before that, before I started watching football, prior coaches weren't really great. And I don't know. I think you just gotta, I think it's just it needs to be a combined effort on all the higher ups on the Jets, from owners, management, coaches, to try and focus on an area of the ball that they need to improve on, which, I mean, yeah, it's pretty much everything at this point now. But if you look at teams that, formed later than the Jets, which have been quite a few teams, but they've done more successful, or at least have gotten farther than them. Like the Titans made it to a Super Bowl, and they, they were the Oilers and became the Titans, but when the Titans were in the 90s, they made it to a Super Bowl that year. Baltimore has made it to Super Bowl a few times when they, became their own franchise. The Browns just now are like doing pretty solid, are like becoming a winning team after being the laughing stock of the first half of the 2010s. And the Jags, like I said last week, a few years ago, they went to the AFC title game. So it's possible for a team to, to do good things. We just haven't seen it with the Jets. And I really do think it comes down to the ownership and the management and the coaching staff to to buckle down and focus on the areas that they need to most improve on. And I think they just need like a change of culture, a change of ways, because I feel like they have some talent. Like they're getting talent from other sides of the ball. Like they had Jamal Adams for a hot second, and like Zach Wilson seems to be doing okay. He's not great by any standards, but like he's doing okay for a Jets quarterback. And yeah, I'm not really sure where you go from there. I mean, you got your first win of the season, so hey, congratulations. But
Yeah, that's
now
something.
you just got to get a winning streak of more than one, and then we'll see what happens. But that's a tough question. I don't know if you have any possible solutions for this Jets organization, but I think it really goes down to the roots of ownership and management.
I think culture obviously is a big thing. We have to talk about the intangibles when it comes to a football team, right? Sure, we can always talk about the stats. I can lay all these stats out for you all day long, right? But when it comes to this, I think the number one thing that we need to consider is identity. The Jets are mired. They're a team that is known for failure. They don't have their own stadium, right? They've moved in with my team just because they're like the cousin you have sleeping on your couch just because they can't keep a job, right? That's what the Jets are in the league. They've changed their logo to the Jets right now. The founder of the Jets, he chose the name Jets, right? Because of the he wanted to link it to LaGuardia Airport down the road, right? They really haven't been anything of a true identity to themselves. They're always trying to just find a way to link into their to the marketplace. They've hired in the 60s, they hired some flashy quarterback, Joe Namath, who was more talk than play, and they've never found their identity as a winning franchise. So how do you fix them? I say you change the logo, you change the name, and you move them. You got to get them completely out of their area, let them become a new team, because all they know is failure. From the ownership to the coaching staff to the players, it's failure, failure, failure throughout their history. And they're not the worst team, right? I said there's 5 teams that are worse than them. The Texans, which are a young team, much younger than the Jets. The Falcons, which are a weird team that just never can get out of their way. The Cardinals, which is a very historic team, one of the oldest teams in the league. And then Jaguars, once again, another young team. And then the Buccaneers, a team that really never found its place and its identity in Florida until Tom Brady came around, right? So what do you do with this team? I say you ship them out of New York, send them to, I don't know, somewhere in the Midwest, somewhere that doesn't have a strong presence on a team. You rebrand them and you let
Give
them
St.
regrow.
Louis a team back. Who knows?
Yes, the St. Louis propellers, I don't know, prop planes, crop dusters, the St. Louis crop dusters.
Oh boy.
And get them out of
That
New
might
York.
be some Giants passion speaking from you. I don't know. Is that a true answer?
I think it is a true answer. I think, as much as I can hate on the Jets because it's fun to as a Giants fan, I think the team needs a new identity in order to start winning again. You look at that with other teams, just to, you keep bringing in the Cowboys and then keep taking some jabs at the Giants. So let me say something about the Giants here. The Giants need to find a winning culture. We haven't been successful these last few seasons. And I think it really comes down to, we had 2 bad coaches, right? Between Pat Shermer and a man whose name I hate to say, Ben McAdoo, right? Now under Aaron Judge, we're struggling, or under Judge, we're struggling again. I always call him Aaron Judge for some reason. But I think what it really is the Giants have lost their identity and they're struggling. This is a temporary problem for the Giants. The Giants will rebound and they'll find their identity again. The Jets have been struggling since the 60s. It's time to clean house, rebrand, move on. That's how you fix the Jets, man. They're a green screen of a team. Just go ahead and place them somewhere else and give them a new backdrop. I think they'll be fine. Yeah. See what I did there? The green and the green.
Yeah. No, I'll forget to do that, but it's fine.
All right, man. So, do you have anything else you want to say about the Jets? Or do you think I'm right? Do you think or is it just Giants passion speak?
I think it's a little of both. I'm not gonna lie. Like, you got some good points. Like, the Jets, I think, just need a complete refresh. But there's definitely a little bit of Giants, fire speaking in you. Like, hey, this MetLife is our stadium. Like, get out of here, you Jets. Move to I Rhode Island. I don't know. Go to London. Like,
There you go, London,
Austin, Texas. Who no more Texas teams. Go to, I
Mexico
don't know.
City.
Maybe, yeah.
It's
Go
it's a
somewhere, but
it's a plane
yeah.
trip away.
Go to Toronto, who knows? Or just go to Canada. I heard Canada likes football, but
Yeah, there
the
you go.
Jets. The Jets. We'll see if they can have a winning streak more than one, and we'll see what happens. And then that would be really interesting to see. I don't think the Jets are going to move anytime soon, but as as sad as that might make you feel, but we'll have to wait. We'll have to wait on a
in the
refresh.
comments below, everyone, go ahead and start the petition. Maybe let's make that the pinned comment. Do you think the Jets should move? That's the comment.
Start a change.org petition. Move the
change.org. Move the Jets. If we can change the name of the Redskins, we can change the location of the Jets. That's my new slogan. All right.
All right.
All right. So let's go ahead and move into some overtime here. I don't expect us to spend too long on here because it's only been 1 week since we last gave the playoff predictions, but here we are. You gave some compelling picks. We're very similar in a lot of regards. If we didn't pick the team, they moved into the wild card, except I think you said, what was it, the 49ers? I mean, I think you just wasted a pick there. So I'm going to give you a chance to redeem yourself, maybe remove the 49ers after this performance. What changes do you make, if any? We're going to go ahead right below. You'll see the teams we picked last week. We'll update them if we make a change. Go ahead.
Well, I am only going to make one change to my entirety of the of this playoff bracket, and it is not the 49ers. The 49ers are still going to win the NFC West. I am placing my bets on that. Okay. I am going to take out the Panthers from the wild card, and I'm going to replace them with the Seahawks and just have a full 4-team NFC West playoff, bracket or playoff showcase. The first time an entire division has ever been featured in the playoffs, it's going to be the NFC West, and that is what I'm going for. Seahawks put up a great performance here. I know we just talked about them saying that they don't do well late in the season and their identity is struggling, but this Thursday night game I think can really be telling. And if they put up a fight, if they bring up a close game, and even if they scratch off the win against the Rams, they've got a shot. They're only 1 game out of first. So yeah, full NFC West takeover of the playoffs. That is my one change. Everything else looks good. I still think the Raiders hold on to a wild card spot in the AFC. I need to see just a bit worse from them to consider moving them out and replacing them with someone maybe like the Colts or I don't know who else it would be at this point. But
a 1-win team, and you're already talking about replacing a 3-win team with a 1-win team. Wow.
I'm just saying, like, just in generalities, because the Colts did play decently, but again, it was the Dolphins. But again, there's like no other AFC team, in my opinion, that can come up at the moment for a spot in the playoffs. But that's why I'm leaving the AFC as it is, and that's my one NFC change. Jesse, what do you got?
All right, so I have to say that if any season was going to have 4 teams enter into the playoffs, it's definitely easier in a 17-game season because you have 1 extra game to make that happen. That's outside of your own division, so your division wins and losses matter a little less this year than in prior years. So I can give you that. I think that's smart of you, man. I'll give you that. Not so smart you're keeping the 49ers there. I'm going to continue to rib you until you eventually give in and admit defeat. It's going to happen, man. I'm telling you, week 7, you're going to be like, you know what, 49ers, they're out. I'm replacing them. And who you're replacing them with? Probably the Rams. But
Can we place a bet now that if the 49ers win the division and I keep my picks, that you'll have to wear a Cowboys jersey for one of the episodes?
Man.
I want to know how confident you are.
You know what?
Live on air.
Live on air. All right. I'll wear. I don't own a Cowboys jersey, so I'm gonna have to, come
You
over
borrow
to
my
you.
Tony Romo one.
Great.
If it fits, I don't know.
Maybe I'll make better calls and predictions if I wear a Tony Romo shirt. But all right,
For sure.
we'll make it a bet. If the 49ers don't make it into the playoffs, at least don't win the NFC West, then you know what? You're wearing a Giants jersey, man. It's going to be wonderful. I think we had a bet like this in the past.
Is that if the 49ers just don't make the playoffs at all or don't win the division? Because if they don't win the division, then like that's it's the NFC West. You never know.
I'm going to say don't make the playoffs.
Okay. I got a little bit of leeway here.
Bet.
Okay,
I'm so confident in this that they're going to be a garbage team. You'll wear a Giants jersey, okay, man? You've done it before for me. We've made this bet once in the past, but it's time to go.
This is why I'm not on Facebook anymore. I can't see that picture.
I think I have it somewhere. So one of these episodes, I'll sneak it in there.
Oh boy!
All right. So with that said, changes for me, none. I'm confident in my picks, man. You can't just step up and be a football host if you're not confident. So I'm going to say I'm keeping everything the same. I understand the Raiders lost. I understand they lost to the Chargers. But when everything plays out in the season, I say the Raiders are still going to be the AFC West champions. I think the Chargers are still going to be playoff contenders and are going to make the wild card. Now, where they end up later in the playoffs, we'll approach that towards the playoffs. But I already have the answers. So why change them, man? So you should have just copied on the test.
All right, fair enough. But yeah, no, I just had to diss the Panthers after their horrible performance against the Cowboys on Sunday. So yeah, they're no longer in my playoff bracket as of now. But yeah, all right, that's overtime. Jesse is yeah, you got the show. Let's see what you got. Man.
So I think we're gonna wrap it up on that. Comment down below if you think the Jets are going to change locations, or at least should change locations. And then once again, of course, help Gabe through this decision process of removing the 49ers from his playoff contention.
It's not going to happen.
I think it's going to go ahead and wrap up an excellent show of Wednesday Night Football. Thank you, everyone, for visiting and enjoying some time with us in this football week. So, Gabe, thank you, and I'll see you next week.
Of course, thank you.